Hey everybody, it's Zach with Bluegrass Rentals of EKY. You're with me in my office this morning, and I want to talk to you today about how I made an extra $1,800 a month while working full-time with an Airbnb side hustle called Airbnb Rental Arbitrage. Thank you for being with me here today. We're going to jump into my screen on my computer. Follow along with me while I show you how to make an extra $1,800 a month through investing in Airbnb as if it were like a side hustle. So a lot of people ask me, they need to see the proof that we made the income that we did on Airbnb for the years that we were operating our rental arbitrages. And if you look here, here's a report from January 1st to December 29th of 2023, and our total amount here, looks like I've kind of fell off, there you are, is $50,816.18. Now that was our gross payouts from Airbnb. However, we made another $13,800 because we took a direct midterm booking from a family that was looking for a displacement location to live because their home had burnt down, and they paid me $2,300 a month for about 6 to 7 months while they were a midterm tenant at our Birch property, our 3-bed, 2-bath house that we had. So our total gross income from January 1st to December 31st was $64,616.18 in 2023. When you divide that by 12 month to month and then divide that by the course of 3 properties that we had, that tallies out to about $1,800 a month in income from each property on Airbnb in our rental arbitrages that we were operating. We made about $1,800 a month in gross income on our Airbnb side hustle, and here's the proof on your screen here of what Airbnb paid out to us, and then I share with you our direct payments that we received with our midterm. So first and foremost, one of the things you're going to be doing in order to start this rental arbitrage side hustle is choosing a market. I recommend, if this is new for you, and especially if this is a side hustle for you, that you do this in your hometown or somewhere that's within an hour of where you live. If we're doing something called a side hustle here, we don't want to be across the country potentially whenever this is something new for you and a bit of a learning curve when you're first starting out. So how do you choose a market? I'd say that first off and foremost, if you're still working a full-time job and you want a side hustle and you don't want to create a full-time business yet, that you choose somewhere close to your house. For me, that was my local hometown. But there are data analytics tools like STR Insights, AirDNA.co, Raboo.com, Mashvisor.com. These websites here will tell you the data of your local town, what your any town, and what you're looking for is to see what Airbnbs are bringing in on income and how investable a certain market is in order to tell you if that market has any ability to offer you a business like Airbnb. For the most part, every town has that. If your town has a local hospital, you've probably got travel nurses. If you're within the area of a few hospitals or maybe an area attraction, then very much likely you're going to be able to do a rental arbitrage business in that area, and there's likely a market for you to cut into by bringing your property that you're going to be renting out to the table as well. So beyond that, I want to show you a video. Let's jump in my computer real quick on what you're looking for or places you can go to find properties for rent to do this kind of method. All right, guys, so here we are. I'm showing you here on places you can go to find properties for rent to do this rental arbitrage method to make this side income, this side hustle. And one of the places I really like to go to when I was starting in looking into this is Realtor.com. They have a rent tab on the screen. You can then type in the city that you want to rent in. Or find a property to do rental arbitrage. You would go there, and then you would find listed properties that are for rent, like this 1-bed, 1-bath, this 2-bed, 1.5 bath. These are nice, and I know where these properties are located. They're very close to several local hospitals. But the point is that you can see here properties that are for rent that could potentially be good for you to do rental arbitrage at their locations. You can also go to Zillow.com and do this, but another great place to go is Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace is a great location where I found local landlords listing their properties for rent that would make great properties potentially for you to do rental arbitrage with. Now, as far as running the data on whether or not a property or a certain area is good for you to do rental arbitrage, I liked going to AirDNA.com, where you would then search up an address or a location and start doing your market research, which I'll have a follow-up video here in the not so distant future talking about market research so that you can find out how a property is good. But essentially, what you're wanting to do in using data analytics tools is you're wanting to go in and say, is there a market here for me to do Airbnb? And it's not that hard to really figure that out. If your rent is $900 a month, or if your rent is $800 a month, your other added expenses are around $500 a month. But you can look at properties like 2-bed, 1-baths that are making approximately $2,500 to $3,000 a month. Then you know you've got a delta there of profitability up to the potential of around $8,000 to $1,500 a month in monthly profit, which is exactly what we did in Airbnb in Ashland, Kentucky, doing rental arbitrage. So when you find out what your expenses will be and you look at Airbnb or a data analytics tool and see what your profitability could be, what your gross income could be on your bed and bath count property size per month, then you have the idea. And really the easiest way to do that is to go in and see what similar properties to what you're looking at using as a rental arbitrage. Let's say you want to rent this 2-bed, 1-bath apartment. You would go into Airbnb itself, look up the town on Airbnb you're wanting to do the same thing in, find a property that's 2-bed, 1-bath or close to that, and see what they are charging per night. And then I would say that you should roughly project that, let's say they're charging $100 a night. I would project that on 60 to 70% occupancy. So you would take 60% of 30 days in a month, times that by a nightly rate of approximately $100, as we just said in our example. And that would tell you what their gross income would be per month. Then you would go and you would see what your rent payment is and what your potential rough electric and utilities are going to cost you. And then at that point, you would know what to subtract from that gross rent projection per month, and that would tell you what your rough profit is probably going to be per month while doing this method as a side hustle, even while you do your full-time career. So this is just an example of places I have gone to get my short-term rental data and places I've went to find properties for rent where I could do this method. Awesome. So now we figured out where we can go to find properties to do this kind of method. But now what you've got to do is put actionable steps behind that, and that is pitching to landlords. Landlords, they don't know this exists. A lot of them don't know that rental arbitrage exists. They don't know that you exist. So you've got to start bringing your pitch on them letting you do rental arbitrage in their property to the table by pitching to them. And you need an elevator pitch. And I'm going to share with you right now the same exact pitch I used to get 3 different properties for rent on Airbnb as a rental arbitrage host. Let's jump into it. I wanted to jump in here real quick and show you guys my rental arbitrage pitch that I constructed to give to landlords when I was looking for rental arbitrage opportunities. So here's my rental arbitrage pitch you see on your screen. I say, hello, insert landlord's name. My name is insert your name with insert your business or company name. I saw your listings for rent on insert location. You've seen the property for rent, whether that's realtor.com, Zillow, maybe Facebook Marketplace. And I was wondering if you would be willing to consider us doing something called rental arbitrage at your property. Let me explain. With your permission in the rental lease, we, insert your company's name, would rent the property on platforms like Airbnb, VRBO, etc. We as a company pay rent to you each month on time, every time. Our word and timeliness matters a lot to us as your tenant. Each week, we have our cleaning team in your property with eyes on it, maintaining professional cleaning standards and reporting to us should they ever notice any damages or things out of place. We will decorate and furnish the property to make it perform well on rental sites and maintain the highest cleaning standards possible. All this will be done at no extra effort to you as the landlord. We manage and run the properties as if they were our own. This is important for us as hosts on these rental sites. We are willing to consider paying you, insert landlord, $50 to $100 more per month on rent in order for the opportunity to do our business model with your beautiful property. We look forward to hearing from you and to answer any questions you may have. You can find out more about us, insert your website or social media for your business. So what we're doing here with this rental arbitrage pitch, we're mainly presenting ourselves professionally as business-minded people that we are going to, and throughout this rental arbitrage pitch, I'm telling the landlord the big highlights why doing that with us would make the most sense. Number one being that we pay on time every time. He's dealing with a company now. He's not dealing with an individual that is fickle and may not pay him his long-term rent month to month. We are wanting to sign a lease for 4 to 6 months, possibly, maybe even 12 or longer if you're wanting to do more of a midterm strategy, and landlords love the idea of a longer term lease. Now, I did my leases at the time. One lease was re-signed every 3 months, and the other leases were month to month. But that was good because me and the landlord had that understanding. I was going to be there long term, but it also gave me an out if the business model that I was doing in that area was not going to work. But if you're pitching a landlord, you've got a great property in a great location, you've done your market research, and you offer for maybe an 18-month lease, a lot of landlords would be happy with that. And we're telling our landlord in our first paragraph that we are going to pay on time every time. And the landlord is absolutely happy with hearing that. Then we are positioning ourselves as that we are going to take better care of their property than a long-term tenant likely would, because we are going to maintain professional cleaning standards and decor standards, which is affecting our bottom line as the rental arbitrage host on Airbnb. We are personally motivated to maintain his property well because our bottom line is affected by that, and his property is maintained well because that affects our bottom line. So we tell him we're going to maintain it professionally and cleanly. And lastly, we are even pitching to this landlord in this particular pitch that I put together that you may even be willing to offer him $50 to $100 more per month, depending on the deal, depending on if that works for your numbers. You may not need to include this, but if you found a great property that would make a great rental arbitrage opportunity, offering a little bit more on the month-to-month payment would definitely incentivize a lot of landlords in order to let you do your business model at their property. And lastly, we're sending them to our professionally set up links. I mean, that doesn't have to be crazy professional, but something like an Instagram or a Facebook page or something you've set up, or a YouTube channel, something you've established, or a website that shows that you are a operating business, that you are putting your best foot forward, and that they can take the chance in you as a rental arbitrage owner or operator. So this is my pitch. I just wanted to include you guys in seeing what I sent out to landlords when I was first getting started and looking for rental arbitrage deals. Okay, so now that you've pitched to landlords, now that you've given them your pitch and they're willing to sign with you on the lease, now it's time to sign the lease with them. That would be the next step. And this lease, ideally, the longer the lease, the happier the landlord. And if it's a great property for you, you want a longer lease, so you lock down that contract, giving you an expectation of future income. If you've projected you're going to make anywhere from $1,000 a month profit to $1,500 a month profit, then the longer the lease tells you the longer you're going to be making that profit. So that is a great thing for the both of you. There's something also to be said for a shorter lease. If you're concerned that this method may not be working for you in your hometown, then maybe a 3-month lease would be more safe for you in case this method does not work out. But if you've done decent upfront research on these data analytics platforms, or if you had someone else help you kind of project that, I can even look into your market if you send me a message directly on if I think it would work for you, then you should be secure in signing a bit of a longer lease. So sign that lease and make sure in the lease that the landlord has put in there that you are approved by him to do what is called rental arbitrage. Rental arbitrage is allowed, or some statement like that, so that you're legally protected if you do rental arbitrage and there should be any issue in the future. Just a way of protecting you and making sure that you are in the parameters of what the landlord has publicly said he's okay with you doing at his property. Next, you're going to be trying to furnish that property. So once you've got the keys to the property, before you ever get the keys, while you're working towards signing that lease, you're already building out your furnishing list. I'll include a document down below on our furnishing list that we use with some of our Airbnbs, but it really isn't all that difficult. We, in fact, furnished our Airbnbs mostly through Amazon.com, even buying our mattresses there. And all of our rental arbitrages we used already had appliances like washers, dryers, dishwashers, stoves, microwaves. We provided coffee makers, but we didn't have to do big appliances. So our furnishings list included things like accent chairs, couches, tables, lamps, bed frames, beds, and all the kitchen appliances, kitchen needs in the kitchen, I should say, like pots and pans and all the different utilities of that. So that's what our list was, and we got most of our items off IKEA.com and Amazon.com, and that's where we furnished the most of ours from, including getting even our Zenith mattresses, which our guests loved, from Amazon.com. So you're going to be building out a furnishing list and ideally getting things ordered and on the way from the amount of money you have saved to start your side hustle. And that is what you'll be doing next. And finally, you'll be creating your Airbnb listing. You'll then take the photos, the professionally done photos, or the best photos you can do, because I think you can do really good photos with your cell phone, taking them at about mid-waist, between upper chest and waist level, using the ProRes or high resolution photography settings on your phone, and even putting it on a timer or maybe putting it on a gimbal so it's stabilized so that you can take high quality photos with your iPhone to do your Airbnb listing. I'm not going to jump into right now on how to do a proper Airbnb listing per se, but only that once you have chosen your market, you've understood what rental arbitrage is, which is renting from a landlord and then subletting the property onto Airbnb. Once you have chosen a property, pitched to that landlord, the landlord has agreed to do that with you, and you have signed that lease, you have furnished it, now it's time to list it on Airbnb. And this is where you will then interact with your guests. This is where you will receive payments. This is where you will receive bookings. This is where you will adjust your pricing. This is where you'll do all that from and through Airbnb and a property management software that you may choose, a PMS, which I use, hospitable.com. And things like that in order to manage my short-term rentals. When I had 3 rental arbitrage Airbnbs, I used a property management software called hospitable.com. Cost me about $20 a month. From there, I could set up automatic messaging to my guests and manage my pricing, and it was very helpful to me to consolidate everything and cut down on my involvement in the business, helping it to be a side hustle by taking out me having to send manually every single message to every single guest. So thank you for being here today. This is Bluegrass Rentals of EKY, going from full-time registered nurse to full-time real estate investor. Here's how I started in this video: an $1,800 a month profitability side hustle by investing $5,000 in a Airbnb rental arbitrage business. God bless you guys.